Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'm excited to do this class, and we'll probably do this as part of a series, of these. Kevin and Jennifer Gilligan have been so gracious to, the Lake Travis agents. We'll introduce ourselves here in a second. We're so gracious to join us. They're amazing on camera, and you'll learn a little bit about why here in a second, and a little bit about their background. So thanks for being here. You know, this is an important topic as far as I'm concerned, and we cover it at square one, and we do a lot of internal video here, and we promote the use of video a lot in marketing. We train to it, and you know, these days we even have equipment and whatnot. So it's an important topic. Hey, Travis, there's a guy who embraces video right there. So I'm glad you're here, and if you're here, you understand that video is an important, or should be an important part of your marketing mix. And so hopefully you're here to learn more about it and improve your skills, and that's why we're here. So let me jump in. I can do this way. My camera isn't working. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's funny, because normally I go off camera when doing these things because I don't want people paying attention to the slides. But since we're talking about always on camera today, I guess I better stay on. So jumping in, but thanks. And welcome, Travis. All right, so by way of quick introduction, maybe some of you have seen that photo before. I use it often because it kind of perfectly encapsulates to me the way everybody seems to feel about video. You know, this isn't a complicated topic, and I know you all know that. At the end of the day, we don't even have that many slides to go through today, so we will have time to talk. And I think part of why we don't have that many slides is because at the end of the day, this whole topic about being on camera and using video is about getting past your fears and your nervousness. And I understand people are that way about still photography, they're that way about video. And so you can do this is the message and the theme for this whole session today. Getting past your fears, understanding and embracing the competitive advantage you gain by utilizing video is very important. And I think all of you who are on this session today probably get that. Practicing always improves your skills, like anything. Video in particular, so being consistent with it is key. Understanding your audience, understanding who you're putting the videos in front of, and understanding what their expectations are. Your audience, in a nutshell, is not expecting Hollywood. They're not expecting trained actors, even though sometimes J.B. Goodwin, they get that. They're just expecting the authentic and hoping for the authentic you with some relevant information, relevant to them, presented in a concise way, and in an authentic way. That's all you have to get across. And if you just use some of the skills we'll go over today, and some skills, you know, on the technical side and shooting wise, we've covered in other classes, and I'll cover a little bit today, you'll be good. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. And going easy on yourself, you know, we've been doing video workshops lately, and I've worked with a number of agents who were fantastic, right? They've really never done video, and they get on there, just have that natural ability, and they kill it right away. Well, invariably, those agents seem to hate the way they did it. They hate their video, they hate the way they look, they hate the way they sound, and they did amazing. Some of the best ones I've ever seen. So we need to get past that too. Something about human nature that leads people to just not like to see themselves. I'm the same way. So we understand, but we're here to talk about that today. A little bit about myself, and I'll let the Gilligans talk briefly about themselves. And we don't normally do this. I don't talk about my background, but it seems relevant today. So, you know, I've been a marketer for 25 years for various Austin companies, but I also have a filmmaking and a writing and a video production background. And I went to UT, and I went through to film school at UT. And in the days since then, I've directed short films and written films, and even wrote and directed a feature film, an independent feature film. So, and then on the corporate side, I've worked with countless people on video, and have worked with them and directed them being on camera. And I'm also used to, as a writer, I'm used to, especially on the narrative side, filmmaking side, I'm used to working with people to deliver lines a certain way, the way they were written to be delivered, for example. So that's my background, and that's where I come from. And again, I only bring that up because it's relevant for today. Kevin and Jennifer, you guys want to tell the crew briefly about yourselves?
Sure.
Thanks.
So Our background, so our college degrees are in acting. We do have our BFAs in that, and we were in the film industry in LA for quite a bit of time as production coordinators and producers as well. So we have been in that world for quite a long time, and reason we got out of that is for the stability when we have kids and all that. So we still are, I feel like we'll always kind of be in that industry in some way, and this was a great
transition.
Yeah, great transition that we're able to use some of our background into real estate. So we feel fortunate that we can scratch that itch still a little bit.
Naturally, the most stable of careers, real estate.
Exactly, right. But
yeah. Well, thanks, guys. And as we proceed today, everybody on this session, feel free to pepper the Gilligans or myself with any questions you have. All right, so I just want to talk briefly about the technical, and you might ask yourself, why the technical? This is a class about being poised on camera. The reason is, as I was thinking about it, putting this together, I believe there's a confidence that you build and attain and maintain when you understand how you're shooting and even why you're shooting and understanding the equipment, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to belabor this today, but just wanted to cover a few technical issues before we talk about actually being on camera. So, and there it is. That was maybe the succinct way to say it, as you will in your videos, as you produce them. Skill breeds confidence, right? So things, and you can watch other training materials we've done, other classes we've done on shooting video to get more detail on some of these things. But concepts like shooting horizontally versus vertically. So we all know that, well, let me rephrase that. We don't all know. Cameras, TVs and movie screens and computer monitors are horizontally oriented, right? They're oriented horizontally, right to left, left to right. Your cameras are as well. And so generally speaking, you want to be shooting horizontally. It's going to play best now in the world of social media and TikTok and Instagram before it. A lot of video gets produced shot vertically. And there was a time when I would have said absolutely never shoot vertical. That's the horrible idea, but there is a place for it nowadays. So something to keep in mind. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these things, but I just wanted to mention them. You're always welcome to watch some of our other training or reach out to me on the side if you have questions about any of these things. Keeping the lens level with your eye. And when we talk about all these things today, we're really talking about, because we train to it, we're talking about shooting with your smartphone. You don't always have to shoot with your smartphone, but most all of you have a video camera in the form of a smartphone in your pocket all the time, and they're getting better and better. I'm about to get my iPhone 13. I'm excited to see what that camera does. So for the purposes of today, when we're talking about these things, we're talking about shooting with your phone, keeping that lens level with your eye, placing yourself center of frame. Your distance from the camera. There's no right or wrong, but you want to find that middle ground that looks reasonable. Audio considerations. When you're shooting out in the field, you want to be aware of audio. If you have questions about using mics, using lavalier mics, using little shotgun mics, you can reach out to me. But just another consideration. Again, I don't want to spend a lot of time on these things, but these are all things you can learn about in other classes we've done. And if you have questions about any specific shooting topic, reach out to me, let me know. Lighting and art direction. So lighting is lighting, that's clear enough. Art direction, and we'll talk about it down a few bullets, but art direction as a concept is generally, the way to think about that is to think about what's in the frame. So when you're setting up your camera and you're setting up yourself to be on camera, being aware of what's behind you. What's behind me right now is a bunch of glass and maybe some blinds in Stephanie's office and maybe the monitor that's on her wall. I haven't looked, but that's my memory of it. I would be aware of that if I were shooting actual video of myself, if I'm at an open house or if I'm at a listing, or even if I'm just out introducing a neighborhood, whatever it is, being aware of what's in frame and then subsequently making adjustments because there's something in frame that's just way too busy and it's going to distract from me, which is what the audience needs to be concentrating on. So again, don't want to spend a lot of time on that today, but something to be aware of. Lighting, even lighting is also called flat lighting. That just refers to even lighting, not side lit, not backlit, just even lighting. Always best, especially in the case of real estate. Daylight versus other, light has color temperatures. We talk about this a little bit when we're training on in our studios, in our various offices. We've got those LED panels and they're adjustable for light temperature. You don't have to worry too much about that, except to be aware that daylight is usually going to be most appealing looking on you, but sometimes you're using tungstens overhead. And I think part of why I like people to be aware of it is because sometimes if the color looks a little odd, if your skin tones look a little bit strange, it's probably because you're mixing, let's say, daylight with overhead tungsten light. So backlighting refers to lighting behind you, which sounds obvious enough, but you've all seen photos or sometimes videos where the subject is just kind of in shadows and silhouette with bright light behind them, and that's because they're backlit. And the camera is, when a camera points at something, it's taking an average exposure of everything it sees. And if there's a bright light behind you, a window used most commonly, if the camera sensor picks up on that window, it decides that that's the average. And so it exposes for everything in frame to that bright average, which subsequently makes you in the who should be lit darken in silhouette. I hope that makes sense. So that's just the general. That's generally how I would explain backlighting, why you want to be aware of it. How to get around that is to just make sure that what's behind you is not bright, and if there are shades, for example, or blinds, pull them and kill that light some, and you'll find yourself magically come into proper exposure. And we talked about being aware of what's in frame as just as a concept, art direction. Any questions on that? I know I'm just running through these because I don't want to spend a lot of time on them. Do you have any questions generally about any of these kind of technical issues I'm just running through? Okay. Preparing to shoot. These are some considerations. And Kevin and Jennifer, I'm sorry too. Do you have anything you want to add to any of the kind of technical topics we're talking about?
No, looks
Sounds great.
Okay. There's Steve Robertson. For those of you who know Steve out of our Westlake office, he's over the last couple of years probably our king of shooting video as a solo agent. Anyway, he gets out there and he does all the time, and he's very successful with it. And to the point that we're kind of one of the points we're talking about today, he just throws his iPhone on the tripod and he rehearses a little bit, and he does it over and over again. He'll tell you that he'll do 20 or 30 takes until he gets one he likes, and he's very successful with those videos. Preparing to shoot, just another consideration. Clothes and jewelry. On the clothes side, you generally don't want to wear things that are overly busy. Again, you want them paying attention to you and your message and not what you're wearing. For the ladies, overuse of jewelry. Jewelry also tends to get a little clanky and make noise, affect the audio. So just, small things to think about. Rehearsing, and the Gilligans will be able to jump in on this. Rehearsing's key, and you definitely should do it, and find that confidence. Again, Steve and others I know shoot over and over and over again. Well, that's not really rehearsing, that's just doing multiple takes, but they do rehearse, and then they do it as many times as they need to get it right. So being ready to end your video. This is a funny topic that people don't consider, and I've found in my experience it's key. And what I mean by that is whether you're getting on to just speak impromptu or if you are reading a script off a teleprompter, finding a way to end the video is sometimes tricky. It's trickier than you would think. And someone's going along great and they're talking about where they sell and which neighborhood they're an expert in and regaling the audience with all of their real estate knowledge. And then it's time to end the video and they kind of fumble and because they weren't prepared to end it. You always want to go with a call to action of some kind in your business, of course, our business, I should say. You want to call to action being, you want to tell them to do something. And in this case, generally speaking, call you, get in touch with you to learn more about the market, or learn more about anything real estate related. So being ready to end the video is always something to consider, because if you don't, you'll find yourself kind of going and fumble it at the end. And we talked about being ready to do multiple takes. Of course, in the world of digital, when I was young, we shot on film, and you couldn't see what you shot. You had to expose it and measure it with a measuring tape and shoot it and send it off to get developed, and hope to God that when it came back, it wasn't properly exposed. You don't have that problem nowadays. You have your phone and you have digital, and you can shoot and shoot and shoot as many takes as you want until you get it the way you like it. So Kevin and Jennifer, you want to jump in on any of these issues, rehearsing or even closed jewelry or rehearsing or anything else?
Yeah, I think I just 100% agree with the rehearsing and knowing how you're going to end, because there's been multiple instances for us where, you feel, gosh, that was great. And then, oh, it's still recording. How do we end this? And then trying to figure out, like, let's cut it here. And
yeah, kind of doing it on the back end a little bit with editing. You don't want to have to deal with that. You kind of want to. And one thing I want to touch on is the being ready to do multiple takes. I think I speak for myself, but I think for the both of us that we still have this misconception of like, okay, well, there's a teleprompter there. We should be able to do this in one take and go. Yeah. And that's just not true. Like, if you saw behind the scenes of us doing any of the videos in the studio, thank you. And Tony has seen this from me. I was getting frustrated with myself because I'm like, okay, well, we do need to do another take. And when you really look at how much time you took, it's really actually not that much time. I think we spent 30 minutes, but I feel like when you're in the moment doing the video, you feel like you've been there for 2 hours and you're like, I'm wasting time. But really blocking out time and allowing yourself just it's okay. It's okay. And one thing so when I was getting frustrated with having to do multiple takes.
The day I walked home.
The day you walked home, yeah, I know. So what it also came back to was a technical issue. We didn't really look at the speed of the teleprompter. So I was flubbing, and I'm like, we should be able to do this in one take. But really, we didn't take the time to go through the whole script on that teleprompter without hitting record and really making sure that speed was right for us. So you will save so much headache. And even when the teleprompter is a perfect speed, still you're going to have to take multiple takes because something's going to happen. And just being okay with that, because we have to do that too.
I think just building into your process, reading through the script 5 times out loud is just, you know what's coming next, and things you can just save a lot of time going through that.
Not relying on the teleprompter. It's more prompting in the name.
Yeah. Here's another little pro tip. When I was listening to Jennifer, she made me remember it, which is there is also such a thing as doing too many takes, and that is there's a magic spot, and everybody's different, and every day is different, where after you've done it 5 times, you nail it, or you get to the 6th or 7th time and you start to just flub every single take because you've gotten slightly tired, because you're overthinking it at that point, what have you. So everybody just has to kind of find that number for themselves. It probably depends on the day and whether you slept the night before, et cetera, et cetera. But there is such a thing as doing too many takes. So you want to kind of, and that comes with practice and knowledge of yourself and what you can do. When I'm shooting with someone, I'm always aware of that. And we're shooting with an agent, if we're doing a video workshop, there are only so many takes. I know there are only so many takes in them before it starts to get worse, not better, right? Diminishing returns. So can anybody see Annette Von on your, there on the side? So Annette is backlit. Hi, Annette. Annette is backlit. Annette's got a bright window behind her, and I can see her, but not really well. And there's an example of what I was talking about. All right, moving on. Performance. Okay, so this is where that kind of non-rocket science portion of this conversation comes in, because it's not. There's just a handful of things, and the Gilligans are going to tell you about some more of them here in a second, give you some of their pro tips. But, you know, it comes down to being confident, to being conversational. Well, let me just, let's just stay on that one for a second, and I'll turn it over to the Gilligans too to speak to these things. Why does being confident matter? Well, of course, being confident always matters, and it always comes across, whether you're speaking to somebody in person, whether you're coming across to them on camera, whether you're talking about real estate or whether you're talking about something else. You don't want to sound less than confident when you're having a conversation with someone about real estate, right? Because then otherwise, why are they going to choose you as their agent? So being confident is always very important. And that takes the form of everything from the tone of your voice to your body language to your, keeping your eyes on the camera, et cetera, et cetera. Anything that you believe would come across as confident to you, the same is going to go for people watching you on camera. Being conversational. So I hope that I'm being conversational now as I'm talking to you, because we are just having a conversation. And this is the way, and I think when you watch the Gilligans, we'll show you one of their videos here in a second, in fact, the one Jennifer was referring to, you'll find that they're conversational. They're friendly, and there might be a slightly more sing-songy kind of delivery because it's video, but it's conversational. Why conversational? Because it's relatable, because people want to relate to you. They want to work with somebody they can relate to, and being conversational and being confident are important. Being concise, of course, we all know that by now, being concise in your messaging, and just leaving out things that are extraneous because people don't have time and they just don't want to listen to those things. Smiling, the most obvious thing there is, and you would not believe, I work with agents and others, and it's not all about the agents, who cannot smile to save their life, and I mean cannot smile to save their life. And you just have to find it in yourself, even if you're just smiling in your eyes. It's easier for some people than others, as with everything, but you have to practice and look in the mirror and practice speaking while you smile. It doesn't have to be a giant toothy grin, although some people are good at that too. You know who's one of the best in the company at smiling as he speaks on camera is JB, ironically. He's very good at it, he's natural at it. Some people just cannot do it. So it's important because if you're not smiling, you're going to come across as somebody who's not interested in what they're talking about. It's just not going to be appealing. It's just not good. So rate of speech, of course, whether you're reading off a prompter or just speaking off the cuff, back to being conversational. I always tell people to speak, again, even if they're reading off the prompter, and we, as Jennifer was talking about, we'll adjust the speed for them so that they're speaking at their normal rate of speech. Some people are fast talkers, some are slower, but whatever your proper rate of speech is, that's where you want to be. And then, of course, being relevant, that last bullet, that's more about content. But I think, as I was describing, understanding the technical, having a handle on it so that you are more confident in your shooting, because that's going to come across in your performance. Likewise, if your material is relevant, and it should always be, everything you do in your marketing should be relevant. Relevance should be one of the first things you're always considering. Even though it's more of a content issue, I think if your material is relevant and you know that it's relevant, again, you're going to be more confident, and that's going to come across in your performance. Questions? Somebody must have something.
There's a couple in the chat here, Tony.
Yeah.
So let's see. Suzanne Goodrich, is there a studio that we can use with the teleprompter? Suzanne, are you in Austin or San Antonio?
I'm in Austin.
Okay, so the one that recently opened up is in the Westlake office, and it's super awesome. There's 3 backdrops. Well, I guess there's a green screen and a white, and then there's the living room, and then Tony, there's a kitchen, and a living room is coming, right, Tony?
Yeah, we're about to have the living room, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Teleprompter, we use our phone.
Right, but there is a teleprompter in the studio as
Right.
well. But yeah, you would need to, and Tony has a great teleprompter app to use.
We're in the process, Suzanne, of creating kind of studio spaces in all the offices. So there is the same equipment in Northwest right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what office you're in, I'm sorry.
I'm in Williamson County.
Okay, so I just got some of the same equipment over to Williamson County. I'm working on getting their backdrop. So there is the prompter and the sticks, the tripod, and the lights, et cetera, et cetera. It's all there.
Nice.
We probably need to set up a little workshop there for everybody to come in and kind of get a feel for the equipment. But
Okay.
yeah, it's definitely there.
Okay, great.
And
Thank
then
you.
somebody was asking about audio, was it? What was the question?
What about audio? Do you use a microphone, and should we invest in a decent mic that can eliminate background noise?
Yes. Again, that's kind of more of the, and I'll send everybody that was on here a link to the class we did not so long ago that talked about the various bits of equipment and suggestions of things to buy. But yes, as we have in the studios, I think everybody should. I mean, my personal opinion is that if any of you are going to be shooting ever and you're out in the field, that you invest, and you don't have to spend a lot, in some basic equipment, which is going to include a basic tripod and basic light and a lavalier mic that you can use with your camera. You might need the lightning adapter if you have an iPhone, and I can help you with all those things. And we have a whole class on that. So yes, absolutely. Audio should always be a consideration, no matter where you are. It makes all the difference. So, Annette, you had a question?
Yes.
You're not backwards anymore.
You had mentioned that the tripod, the teleprompter on your phone. Do you have a particular app that you use for the teleprompting part of your phone?
A particular app? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Website.
There's several. The one I recommend everybody is called, and again, it's in that class. It's called. It's just called teleprompter. I think maybe they added a word to the name, but I only see it as teleprompter. You can see this icon right here. That's what it looks like. And I'll send this out to you. And, you know, it just brings up the script vertically or horizontally. It works like a champ. So you would just put this on a tripod. You can even read the script right into the phone, right into the app. And I'm going to be writing monthly scripts, as we did for the workshops, that I'll make available to everyone, so that if you don't want to write something yourself, you'll get kind of new monthly 30, 45-second scripts written by me that you can put in there and record anytime.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
And Tony, there is one more from Samantha. She said, what I'd like to learn is how to do the technical, how to record, how to edit, add sound, etc. Will a workshop be held for that? Yeah, that's challenging because it's very hands-on. I need to figure out how to do that. Probably we just need to do it office to office because we can't do it online. So I think Samantha left the meeting, but yes, we'll get to that. Yeah, that's a good point. Hey, Alan, I didn't see you. Anything else, guys, before we move on? There's using a teleprompter. We've already talked about that a bunch. You know, the trick with the prompter, and as we kind of continue to do these video workshops in the various offices, I can help with these things. You know, welcome. Some of you on the call have probably already done those, to come out and you can learn these things I'm talking about here in, you know, reading at a conversational pace so that you don't sound like you're reading, picking the right size and the scroll rate on the prompter. And we just talked about having these prompters. You see one there in the picture, and no, that's not a real living room. That's a blown up stock image at the Northwest office. So you can, that should look pretty real to you on your monitor. Mm-hmm. And those are the teleprompters we use. You know, behind that, I don't know if you can see my mouse moving there. Right behind this curtain sits your smartphone. On the front of this thing is a tablet that lays on its back, or another phone. It scrolls and just reflects off the glass on the front of this thing, and you're standing over here and you can just read as it scrolls. Easy peasy. So we can work with you on that as well. Somebody have a question? Alan.
Hi, Tony. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Kevin. Question about the Northwest office you're mentioning that has the different sets, if you would, for filming. Are we able, even if we're in San Antonio, to maybe schedule time to go up there and and film as well and have you or someone else help us?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys are moving offices, so I'm going to be providing well, San Antonio has all this equipment as well. San Antonio doesn't have the backdrops yet, partly because they're 8 foot by 8 foot and they're expensive, and you guys are moving offices, and so I'm determining the space there but you're going to have backdrops there as well. But absolutely, yeah, you're welcome to come down. You know, as far as I'm concerned, any agent in the company can do anything at any office at any time. That's the way we're set up. It doesn't always go down that way because people don't tend to think in those terms, but yes, absolutely. So you can come all the way from San Antonio, and I'm happy to help. So
Awesome, thank you.
sure thing. All right, moving on. Gilligans, I turn it over to you for some pro tips.
Awesome. So one of the tips for talking on camera, this kind of comes from, you can kind of tell, it kind of comes from acting exercises that we had back in the day. So something that still works for me personally is really envisioning someone specific or a group of people on the other side of the lens. So who are you envisioning when you're talking to the camera lens? Because I know I mean, it's a black void that you're looking into, and that's scary. And really using your imagination, it might sound kooky, but it really does work. And that also goes with when you're rehearsing, when you'll look like an actor, you'll have your script and you'll go to a wall or go to the mirror and really envision, like, this is one of the exercises that I'd love for y'all to try, and let me know if it worked at all, or just give some feedback on this. But so read the script out loud as if you're talking to different types of audiences, and see what feels right. And it depends most likely on the content of the script. So for some of our content, I'm envisioning my friends. For some, I'm envisioning a repeat client. And it doesn't always have to be, when the content of the script says, like, okay, I'm asking for referrals, doesn't necessarily mean you're envisioning the people that you're asking for referrals. Whatever works, like, it really helps to envision people who are your biggest supporters to take away some of that fear. So try that out. Try reading out loud, envisioning one time that you're talking to your family, one time you're talking to your best friend, one time you're talking to your neighbor, one time you're talking to your repeat clients. See how that changes things. And maybe it doesn't, but maybe it does kind of give you some insight on, oh, I did feel more conversational, or you know what, I do need to have a little bit more professional confidence in this particular script, and I don't just play around with it.
Absolutely.
Do you ever envision you're speaking to your dog, Jennifer?
100%. That's what I was really getting at.
Oftentimes she is in the room.
Yeah.
Our dog will be.
You don't have to imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what she meant by her best friend, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Man's best friend.
Yeah. So, I also think just the biggest thing with video is that Tony, you touched on the competitive advantage, and what we have gotten from that is the multiple times that people say we're meeting them in person for the first time, and we've heard constantly, I feel like I already know you. And just what a relief to, like, go into kind of a high stakes situation and they already know you, like you, and trust you, which we know is the goal of everything. And so that's really, you do all this work up ahead and it's evergreen. And if you have a new client, you can send them to your Instagram, or send them a welcome video or anything. Like, there's just all these ways that video really does impact you over, getting that listing or getting that buyer client over another agent, and without you really needing to think about it. So that's
it's just there doing its thing.
Yeah, great point. And there are things I'll piggyback onto what Kevin just said. There are things, and when we're training on video, we talk about this a lot, that you'll never ever be able to communicate outside of video. You can put the same information down in the written word in an email or what have you, and hope that it communicates, it comes across, but it will never come across quite the way it will with video, where they can see you, where they can hear you, where they can get a feel for who you are, hear the tone of your voice again, hear how confident you are, whatever it is. It's so powerful, video. So anyway, what else, guys?
That's the main thing on that there.
Okay.
Unless there's any questions about that, or if y'all have any questions.
Yeah, anybody have any questions about doing this? What's the, does anybody, someone chime in for me? What's your biggest fear? I already know the answer, but I want to hear some people say, tell me what the biggest fear is. Anybody?
My man voice. I feel like whenever I'm recorded on video, or if I hear myself recorded, I feel like I have man voice, and I just don't want to have that
But
come across in the video.
You don't. Let's start right there. You have a great voice. We just heard it. So moving past that. Anybody else? What's the fear level?
Failing.
Yeah. How so?
Just not being able to. I'm not technologically savvy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up with technology at all,
Mm-hmm.
and so all of this technology can be very scary and overwhelming.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to talk to people at all because I'm a
Mhm.
teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done it for years. So I'm very at ease just talking to people.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the issue. I think the issue is going to be, how do I turn this on? How do I do the light? And how do, is this mic right? And I don't know. And so rather than failing, I don't try.
Yeah. Well, that's natural. That's a whole, as I said, that's a whole other class. But you also don't want to be hamstrung by that. You don't want to get to the point where you're so worried about doing it that you don't try. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to worry at all about necessarily about lighting, about sound, about any of the other things. I like to cover them and I like people to be aware of them, but it's not something you necessarily have to be concerned about. You can just grab your phone and start talking, and you're usually, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be just okay, especially in this industry. So, and keep in mind one thing, and I talk about this in other classes on video, it's not in here today. You may believe that all the other agents are doing video, utilizing video in their marketing. They're not. You might see it from time to time, but generally speaking, back to that concept of competitive advantage, just by doing any video, you're already kind of leaping to the top. Some people do it, most don't. So, you want to be in that high percentile. Laura, you had a question?
Yeah, no, I have a comment. So my biggest thing is when I've seen myself on video, and I've tried a couple things with you guys, is I'm like real stiff and I can't relax and be natural. So I see a lot of video. I'm a big voyeur, like I watch a lot, and people just seem so relaxed and natural, and things just roll off their tongue, and I'm like,
practice. That's just practice. Ask Kevin and Jennifer, they'll tell you that's just practice. I mean, there is sometimes natural ability at play, but it's practice. Some of the best I've worked with in the past, public speakers, and of course, being good at this is also, helps with just your general ability to speak in public. Were not good at it when they started at all, and they get to from not very good to amazing. So it's just practice, it's just doing it, and again, finding that confidence. I understand, but you can get there. All of you can get there. Kevin and Jennifer, any comments on that?
Yeah, I think, Laura, to your point, some of the best engagement that we've had video-wise has been not in a studio and just out. You're a realtor, so you do exciting things during the day. You go, you look at houses. If you pull up to a showing, maybe like a first thing just to kind of get used to seeing your face on camera is to not even have a script and just know, I want to say, here we are at this beautiful listing. I want to take y'all along. Let's see what 123 Main Street has in store. Smile, flub up if you do. I think people really appreciate the authenticity and just knowing, oh, she's a real person.
Yeah.
She's having fun with it. I think that is some of the best content that we ever create, is just a lot of it. I'll be driving and it's like, happy Saturday, we're heading on to, I think that's really just to, because it is nerve-wracking. Like, all right, here's a teleprompter. I'm in this office. I've got all these lights on me. Is the microphone? And that definitely, that is the goal. But I think also just getting your face out there and people seeing you talking is such an advantage over people who aren't doing that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because I feel like you said, that's the goal, to be in the studio. But to be honest, our numbers, like looking at the insights on Instagram and Facebook, our engagement comes from stories, Instagram stories, Facebook stories. We get a lot of views, or we obviously aren't going to go into the weeds, but Instagram Reels, that's where a lot of like the money is on in terms of views. But I think that's a fantastic, like you said, fantastic way to start, where talking to the camera on your Instagram or Facebook stories, it's the same thing. And literally just sitting in your car, wherever you're comfortable, you have your cup of coffee, whatever space that you're the most relaxed in, and not standing up and, trying to look perfect. Literally be sitting down and have a cup of coffee, tea, whatever, and just talk like it is your buddy, and you're explaining what you're doing. And I think doing that enough times, it's a muscle memory thing. And then eventually when you're like, yeah, I'm going to try it in the studio, you're going to be standing up for the most part, but that's going to be in your muscles of like, all right, I'm just talking to my friend again. I'm going to pretend I'm imagining me having a coffee in my hand. So it's just kind of baby steps, but I feel like starting in the stories, that is the perfect gateway.
Yeah, great. That's great. I agree with all of that. The studios, just so everybody knows, and the video workshops we do as well, are really meant to be a place and an opportunity to practice and just get comfortable on camera. That's why we have the workshops, and that's why those things are there. Certainly, they're great for producing videos, but you're a real estate agent, so mostly you're going to be out in the field, shooting at open houses, shooting at a listing, shooting at neighborhood introduction, interviewing a builder, whatever you're doing with video. And the possibilities in real estate are endless. It's about practice, but this, I don't want people to get too stuck on the studios and the lights and the equipment, because even though that's all basic stuff, it's really there for you to practice. Scott.
Yeah, so I guess my concern is, how do I make a video and not come off as being just boring, straight, like, oh my gosh, this guy again kind of situation, where people will be like, not even bother to watch it. How do I be interesting or stand out from other agents that are making videos?
Well, the first answer to that is you won't ever be boring if the content's relevant, right? So, and remember, starting with, is this content relevant? If you are offering the right audience relevant content, that is content that's relevant to them, you'll never be boring because it's relevant to them, and you're keeping it concise and you're being efficient. Me just listening to you ask that question, you sounded perfectly fine and conversational. If you were speaking about real estate, if you were doing a quick video on the most recent monthly stats just to make up an example and keeping it concise, you're going to be great. So I wouldn't be concerned with being boring unless your content is boring, and it should never be boring because you're here today and we're telling you that only go out with relevant content. So I think you'll be fine. Suzanne, you had a question?
Yes, I do. It's about makeup. Okay. Kevin, do you wear makeup when you're doing these videos?
I don't.
No, you just have really, I guess, appropriate lighting. Okay.
Yeah. The natural lighting is, like Tony said, the daylight lighting is magical. It's fantastic.
Okay, good.
Are you guys in front of a window right now, Gilligans?
We do. Yes, off to the side here, we have 2 windows, and then there is one right here. Yeah, so we have natural light on us.
Thanks. Annette, you had a question or comment?
Yes, thank you. So when you're in the field and you're touring a house and you're videoing, and here we are at this house and so forth, don't you need to get permission in advance to video a person's house as you tour it, or am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, guys.
We don't. I don't believe that.
We're not giving any. Well, I guess it depends. The ones where we say that,
address,
the ones where we say the address is ones that we are doing an open house and we have permission from that. But otherwise, it's things like, look at this layout, and we're not saying any information about the house itself, like anything that could. No, we don't. Unless it's an open house, we get permission where we're saying the address.
Okay. Thank you.
And you can, if you want to look more into that, I'd say, was that your question, Annette, or whose question was that? Yeah, I would just ask, check in with you're on mute, sorry. Annette, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was my question. I just didn't want to get into trouble videotaping somebody's personal belongings in their house as I'm walking through, and then seeing it on YouTube and going, oh my gosh, that's my house. They didn't ask permission. I don't want to get
the other thing I'd say is that if you're concerned about it, ask for permission and just take care of it that way. But yeah, it's a good point. Teresa, you had a question or comment?
Yes, I just want to ask how you guys plan your social medias. Is there a specific planner y'all use, or any, like, I know a lot of people get ideas from Pinterest. That's where I get most of my ideas. But how do y'all plan y'all's posts?
Sure. So I wish we could say that every Sunday we post for the whole week, but what we do is, I'm sorry, before I answer, are you talking like content wise, or how we are like physically like posting, like managing time?
More like managing time.
Sure. Yeah. So a part of it comes, we do try on the week or Fridays or the weekends to think out what are at least 3 posts. Like, we don't post every single day, but we do every single day on the stories. But yeah, so on the weekends or on Fridays, we talk about one, like what has happened the past week that we think, like a client asked a question, or we've seen like Tesla coming, for the headquarters, something that we think is relevant. And where that relevance comes from is like real life situations where we have been asked a question and we're like, okay, well, we should probably make a post on expanding that. And we did with Tony another video workshop where we kind of broke down different categories of what we post. So that really helps too, on having specific categories that you can just go back to and be like, what haven't I posted about? And that makes things go a lot faster when you're pre-planning.
I think also just getting in the habit of documenting your day. Like, even if it seems boring, if you're prepping a contract, shoot a quick video or take a picture without any specific information of your desk. And people are really interested in just kind of the day-to-day.
And if you don't post it that day, that's fine. Just save it. I have a whole folder of things of like us on the field where I'm like, I'll go back to this and use this another time. And for the most part, like the Instagram stories that you see of us are not in that exact moment. For the most part, it's us filming that. I save them, and when I'm in a certain I get car sick, to be honest. So a lot of times when we're in the car, I don't want to post it. So when we get to where we are, I go back to Instagram. So all that to say, you can just save everything. Don't feel like, oh, well, I don't want to take a picture of this because I'm not going to post it right now. That's okay. Just put it in an archives folder to go back to.
Yeah, I see that a lot actually on TikTok. It's like a lot of realtors are just like a day in the life of a realtor, and it's just like them getting coffee at the coffee shop.
Exactly. That's what people want. Like
relatable.
And sometimes we do in our Instagram and Facebook stories, like what do you guys want to see more of? Not that we're like influencers, we're like, hey guys, but at the same time, our family and friends do have opinions. And so we put polls of like, what do you want to see more on our platform? And for the most part, it's decor, local stuff, more things of more marriage humor. For the most part, it's not about real estate, because there's only a small percentage of people who are on social media that are like, I'm going to look for a very specific house. Really, they want to be entertained.
Yeah. Great tips. Suzanne, did you have something? I'm going to move on.
Yes.
I have a quick video. Go ahead.
Okay, real quick. What is your length of video? Because I've tried going through open houses and taking videos, and I cannot get under 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, there's no right or wrong answer to that question. And maybe you were throwing that to the Gilligans, but let me give a quick answer for myself. Depends on what it is. The conventional wisdom is shorter is better, and that's true. However, if it's the right topic and the right relevance for the right audience, they will stick with it for longer than you might expect. So if I'm interested in that open house you're talking about, I'm going to hang with you for 2 minutes. If I'm not, I wasn't interested anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. Be efficient in what you're covering. Don't linger on, the kitchen just to make up an example for, a minute by itself. Move it along, just to use your open house example. But don't be too concerned. Always think efficiency. But again, the audience that wants to see that is going to hang with you as long as it's of reasonable length. Did you guys want to answer that, Kevin and Jennifer? And then we're going to move on to play your video and wrap it up.
I think for the open houses, we haven't done them in a way where we're going through each and every room in too much detail. What we have done is in the Instagram stories and Facebook stories, we've kind of quickly gone into the main parts that look really, really impressive, and then put polls within that. I mean, that's kind of we just do it a little bit differently where it's not a evergreen video because that house is going to be, that content's not going to be as relevant in a few weeks. But it is good to show that you are doing an open house and look at what you're doing. But we just don't post it just because we know that content for us won't be as relevant in a month. So we put it in our Instagram stories.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
We haven't talked about it a lot today. It's a different class, but when we talk about branding yourself and positioning yourself, and one of the things to keep in mind, one of the takeaways from today is that any video you do, whether you're spending just 15 seconds talking about that you're going to be holding open house, or you're shooting a longer video to show the house off, you are communicating to the people out there watching it that you are in real estate, that you are friendly and relatable, that you have some knowledge and expertise. So point being, there's benefit no matter what the length is, no matter what it is, there's additional benefit for your brand and for your brand positioning in doing any video content. All right, I'm going to run the video that we've talked about a couple times today that was shot at the Westlake office. This is just shot with an iPhone and a lavalier mic on a stand and mostly natural light and a fake kitchen backdrop. And as you watch this for a couple minutes, you can, think about the various things we talked about today, the lighting, the sound, the camera level, the delivery, the smiling, the confidence, the friendliness, the pace, all those things that we've talked about. So let me run this. Stop me if you can't hear it. Thanks.
Welcome to the Gilligan Group Savvy Seller Series. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jennifer, here to share some ways you can optimize your house for fall showings and make buyers fall in love.
So, if you know anyone thinking of selling their home, make sure to tag them in this video so they can get all the details.
Number 1, take advantage of fall scents.
Fall is the season with some of the best scents. Getting that perfect scent in your home can be tricky, and we want to make sure we're not spraying Febreze everywhere because it just smells like you're trying to cover something up.
So instead, invest in some great smelling fall candles. Bath & Body Works has tons of scents that can leave your house smelling delicious. You can also make homemade potpourri on the stove with cinnamon and cloves.
Don't mix too many scents. Try to stick one per showing or open house. When you have too many scents, it can cause people to get a headache and feel overwhelmed. You can't go wrong with any of the ones we've mentioned, so pick your favorite.
Number 2, stick with warm, cozy vibes over festive Halloween when it comes to home decor.
If you're listing your home in October, you might want to skip going all out on festive Halloween decor. Potential buyers might have a hard time seeing past fake skeletons and tombstones, and when they look at your house, it's not great.
Instead, stick with a warm, cozy atmosphere when it comes to fall decor. All you need is a variety of pumpkins, some gourds, corn stalks, and colorful mugs.
You can find all of these items at your local home improvement or gardening store.
Number 3, help buyers imagine themselves living there.
This goes for any season, but it's important to strike a balance between lived in and put together.
Remove items like gallery walls of family photos, but not to the point where it looks like no one lives in there. Keep a throw on the couch, a book on the coffee table, and a candle burning in the kitchen.
Selling in the fall also means selling during football season. If you have showings scheduled while a football game is on, consider turning on the TV and keep the game on for the showing.
If you have a gas fireplace, turn that on for showings, as long as it's not left on for too long. It will create a warm and inviting atmosphere.
Thanks for tuning in to our Savvy Seller series.
If you want to dive more into how to generate the most demand for your home sale, let's grab a pumpkin spice latte and talk through your options.
Send us a direct message or give us a call. The latte's on us.
Great job.
That is awesome, you guys.
Thank you.
That was great. Good job.
And as I said before it started, bringing it all together, of course, the Gilligans are trained, right? They're used to being on camera. They also have benefit of bouncing off each other, but they also do videos solo as well. And that was read off the teleprompter in the offices too, by the way. To what we just talked about a second ago, that was longer in length, but it was fast. It moved along. It was broken into steps. It didn't feel too long, and it felt very relevant to me. So we don't have a lot of time to discuss these things. We got to wrap up for today, but if you guys have any questions, reach out to me directly. Let me see here. Oh, there we go. You're welcome to reach out to me directly. I knew that was going to happen. And Kevin and Jennifer, are you fine with folks pinging you with questions if they have them?
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
Okay. Some quick tips and takeaways for you guys. There's no time to get started like today. Find it in yourself to just get out there and practice. Try some of the tips that Jennifer and Kevin gave you, and just practice and rehearse. You've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. You're better than you think, I promise. Everybody, again, as I opened with, people who are, I find, very good on camera, hate their performance, and it's just something about human nature, but you got to get past that as well. You're better than you think you are, I promise, and you'll get even better with practice. You have a lot of support here at JB Goodwin. We produce a lot of video. We have video expertise in-house. We're building out, studio spaces with equipment, and, we do these kinds of trainings and others. So use it, please do. As I said earlier, other agents aren't doing it as much as you think. You get that competitive advantage going by getting started. Jennifer added to post your videos to all of your social media platforms. Obviously very important. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We briefly talked about TikTok is really gaining a lot of prominence in real estate as well. It's not just 15 seconds for teenagers anymore. So Suzanne, you had
just briefly. Okay, Kevin and Jennifer, I really liked your video just then. Do you mind if we borrow some of that content?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
As I said earlier, I'm going to be providing scripts monthly, short ones that everybody can use. And again, all you really need is a tripod and your phone and a script. And you should be able to, confidently put out videos that are relevant. They'll be relevant because I wrote them. And you can use them every month. So look for those coming up. Samantha.
Yeah, quick question, because my concern is the teleprompter doohickey thingy. If I'm trying to do this on my phone, how do I connect the two so I can seem as awesome as they just did in that video? Because that's not my skill set.
Well, you reach out to me on the side is the answer. I know I've worked with you in a workshop already, and you did great. In fact, you're a great example of, did I do well? You did great. You really did. So reach out to me on the side, and we'll work on that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else before we wrap today? We appreciate you joining us. I know it felt brief, but the conversation's ongoing, and we'll do more workshops. And again, you can reach out anytime, and we're happy to help. So if nobody has anything left. We'll, anybody? Okay. Well, thanks, guys. Have a great day, and thank you for joining us. Thank you, Kevin and Jennifer, for all your expertise and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll pick it up soon. All right, guys.